Today we're going to talk about packaging and legal requirements. All the nuts and bolts are coming out. Watch out, watch out. Hello, it's Selena from Imperial. So we're going to talk about packaging. And it's obviously a very necessary piece of the discussion in terms of tea sales because if you think about like when you walk into a weekend craft market or something and a packet of tea, maybe in a little plastic bag or even paper bag and got an inkjet printer label on it, you naturally expect that to sell in a different price, cheaper. Then if you pick up the same amount of tea, same quality of tea from say a beauty salon, it might be packaged up in a nice tin, maybe a glass jar and things like that with a really nice, swanky label on them with, gold foil and whatnot. They could be identical tea inside, but the truth is the packaging really does make a difference. So you really need to look at your market. If you are actually going to a weekend market, selling it at a deli, selling it in gourmet food shop or beauty salon, they all really attract a certain kind of clientele. And, it's a really funny thing that if you sell it too cheaply, you could actually be shooting yourself in the foot. If you get a chance to look at a book called Influence from, oh shucks, the person's name just escaped me. It's a really well-known book. I'll put it in a blog post for you. It talks about a really interesting example of someone who's trying to sell Opal and accidentally jacked up the prices, and all of a sudden they were selling like hotcakes. It's a really interesting one. So going back to the packaging, what I want to also point out to you is that, it could be really quite deceiving. So for example, this is what we call a 50-gram tin, and implying that you can fit about 50 grams of black tea. You can actually fit a little more or less, just really depends on firstly whether you put the tea into the bag first and of course the volume of the tea, because if it's got a lot of chamomile, you'll fit less in it. Chamomile implying there's more volume, the tea is fluffier, like if you have a lot of petally bits, usually it will bulk up the tea. So even, 3 teaspoonful of it could look like 6 teaspoonful because it just looks so fluffy and big. And, of course there's, this type of, pouch packaging that is highly popular now. And they are really good because they are, mail proof. You just never know when you're going to have a postman with a bad day and just drop kick your stuff. So tins, jars, and all that sort of thing are, obviously more vulnerable to, the transportation havoc. So, if you think about both of them are holding 60 grams of tea, you would naturally think the tin is going to sell a bit more. But at the same time, if you do actually run your business with mailing orders out, the tin is, or jars, are, you do need to give it more packaging. So of course it's going to go up, in terms of the postage cost for you. And of course, when we talked about volume, you really do need to sort of, consider seriously different volume, like all of these holding 60 grams of tea. So, they could look quite different. And even for the, the bag, this is 60 gram Assam, a fairly cut up Assam. Versus if you have got 60 gram of chamomile, or 60 gram of calendula petals, there's a good chance you won't be able to fill in to the same bag, or it will look really, really puffed up. Other ideas I want to just quickly let you have a look is these, interesting little packets that I picked up way back from Hong Kong, but they're from Japan actually. So there are really different ideas to execute to make it more interesting. And of course, the flip side of it is that if they do sell really well, these handcrafted type things, if you don't have any Oompa Loompas to help you out, it could be, really burning a lot of your midnight oil just doing these little fancy packets. So do have a think about that. Now we're going to jump on to the legal requirements. Legal requirements, basically your tea name, ingredients, the address, it's for recall and customer inquiry purpose. country of origin, and brewing suggestion, I definitely would suggest you to pop that on as well as a disclaimer of some sort relating to allergy and medical stuff. And if you want to have a look at ours, just check out the blog post. I'll pop it there for you to have a look at. They are really the important essentials, and of course the grams as well. And in relation to country of origin, yeah, you don't, like we say, mix in Australia with imported ingredients. That's often, suffice for what needs to happen. And of course, if, the health side of things is something that you want to market, do keep that in mind. With tea generally, we are really talking about selling it more as a food item. If you want to really promote the health side of things, you need to really have a think about, whether you have that credibility, back it up, because you might really need to look at the TGA side of things, Therapeutic Goods Association, getting the certification or approval from that side. And that's something we don't deal with. It's a real different kettle of fish. What else? Nutritional label, people often ask about that. No, it's not necessary. The last time I checked, and last time was last month. So yeah, I would really say that your bare essentials would be your tea name, your gram size, your ingredients, your brewing suggestion, your origin, your disclaimer, health disclaimer. Yeah, make it a little prettier. That often helps. We all shop with our eyes, so that's really helpful to actually have something that, especially like for example, we have the picture of the tea there. Just especially if the package is concealed, that's just giving people a chance to sort of, envisage what they will be getting. And if you're going for pouches that has got a clear side of it, I suggest you to use that as the back rather than the front. And the reason is that the front is obviously where it's going to have most exposure to light. So really you want to have more protection to the tea by having, a non-transparent surface in the front. And the back, becomes where you can really have a look at, the actual content of the tea. And also, if you have a lot of different teas with various volume, what we were talking about before, so some pack will look really full and others will look half full, but they all actually have 50 grams of tea in it. And when you have it in display, people are going to go, okay, what is that? So having this clear front showing various fullness of it, I don't really think that's going to look all that crash hard on a shelf, versus if they all actually have a nice uniform front, then yeah, it's going to look much smarter in your shop or in your display in the market and things like that. So yeah, there you have it, a little bit about the pack size, legal requirements, and of course we have a lot more information at imperialteas.com.au in relation to labeling and a lot of packaging examples. If you search for examples, you will actually hit quite a few of the blog posts that has got a lot of pictures and some tips and tricks as well. So I hope this has been useful to you. And of course, keep watching this space. Once a week we are going to give you some tips on tea selling profitably in your style. I'll catch you next time.